It's like one of the main questions that I receive all the time. Shervin, what are we going to do about 5G? What are we going to do about Wi-Fi? What are we going to do about all these non-native electromagnetic frequencies? It's essentially, a toxic assault on our Mother Earth on all levels. The electromagnetic current and the standard operating system of our Mother Earth is very, 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 very intricate. Okay, there's Paul. Let me see here. See if we can get Paul on. Paul is the founder of Synergy Science. And it's good. For once, I'll be interviewing somebody. There he is.
Hey, I don't look as good as you, but I'm here.
Dude, you look great, brother. Let me turn off the comments so it's basically you and I. Okay. All right, so first of all, how are you, my man?
I'm good. I'm doing great.
Good, man. You look good.
Thank you.
Yeah. You always, whenever I see your face, I get immediately happy. And so that's a really good sign.
Thank you.
Last time I saw you was at the Truth About Cancer over in that cesspool they call Anaheim.
That's right.
Right?
Disney Village, yes.
What a nightmare. And how are you doing today? What's going on with you amongst this interesting climate we're in right now?
So we are doing the most business we've ever done. Mm-hmm. It's amazing the orders that are just pouring in with people that are being educated, people that are understanding what they can do to really help themselves, protect themselves, prevent.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's a little crazy around here, but we are so thankful and happy that we can help people have hope.
Which is, basically kind of what your dharma is here, right? In this reality, it's, and pretty much I think everyone incarnates here to have that kind of soul expression when you're just here to help. And what I see right now is, there's a limited amount of information and knowledge that's being presented to people, right? And when you lack that awareness, it's not your fault. It's just a commonality of something we call ignorance. And that ignorance isn't an insult. It's more of a byproduct of our society and our current construct, if you will. And so myself, everybody on here that's on this audience right now, they know me as a teacher, constantly exploring and uncovering the unknown. It's part of my human design, being an investigator, an anarchist, and a martyr. And for you, I have a lot of respect for you. And if you're just joining right now, this is Paul. He's the founder of Synergy Science. Synergy Science has been around for how long?
2011.
2011, and you started in the hydrogen realm in terms of bringing the highest quality molecular hydrogen water to the market, right?
Right. Prior to that, I had been in the alkaline water machine world, and we had sold 130,000 alkaline water machines. And in 2008, 2009, it was very clear to me that it was hydrogen and the electrical potential of the water that was actually causing the benefits, not the pH of the water. So it was a huge shift for me. And for me, truth is truth. And so I exited the company that I was part owner in and decided to go and teach people about hydrogen. And everyone thought I was crazy. And now they don't think I'm crazy.
I have a lot of respect for that type of, realization of, because we're constantly students. I don't care what level of mastery you have, but once you retain a certain amount, you keep going. You keep going. You chop wood, you carry water. You become enlightened. You chop wood and you carry water, and you keep going. And that's a testament. That's a testament to who you are. And everyone listening right now, you probably watched my video that I did last week, first part of the water series on molecular hydrogen, on understanding how interstitial acidosis works, understanding how hydrogen works as an antioxidant, understanding it's not about the pH of the water so much. I mean, your gut has a specific acidity. We'll go down the water chain probably next week or 2 weeks, because water is the center of our life. But let's just get right into what we're dealing with right now, because we are dealing with a assault on the the web of life, if you will, when it comes to the biofield and electromagnetic frequencies that are happening right now, specifically the non-native ones. And everyone knows that we're an electrical system. We're designed through polarities. Our body operates through a very nice balance of that electrical system, and we get our cues from nature. You know, that's why the earth has its breath, which we now know is the Schumann resonance. So when we start altering these biofields, 3G, 4G, 5G, so all of these different energies, we are interfering with our body's ability to absorb oxygen, to repair, to trigger immune responses, to be able to balance the everyday assault that's happening in our body, whether it's external or internal through metabolic exchange and all the millions and billions and trillions of processes that are happening like that before we even know it. And that's the beauty of life, is that we're just this collective biological machine. So now it looks like we are in an age where we're not following the real research, we're not following the real science, and technology has basically running around like a chicken with its head cut off, you know, destroying everything in nature. And they thought it was a good idea that we were downloading, you know, the Titanic movie while we're walking through the park, right? Like, at least that's what they're selling us, right? And now
it's a good thing to do that.
Yeah, it's a great thing to do that, right? Like, let's just not connect with our mother. Let's just be on our devices all the time. And at the same time, they're now pushing businesses. I've seen it. They're telling businesses, if you don't have this, you're left in the dust, and your competitors are going to run you over. You don't have a chance. So it's like this mass manipulation, and they're basically casting a spell on all of us. So how did you get into this new era of technology? Let's start it there, and then we'll go down specifics on how this technology works and what everybody can do.
So I developed the water machine. You know, that's something I developed, but the key technology I did not develop. So one of my dearest friends from Germany, his name is Hagen Thiers, he actually developed the technology. We met because he wanted to promote my water machines in German-speaking countries. And so, funny enough, that's how we met. And through that process, he called me one day and was like, hey, have you ever thought about marketing my product? And I said, what is it, right? I don't even know what you do other than you sell my products. And he told me, and this was about 5 years ago, I didn't really understand EMFs at that time to the degree that I do today. I just didn't. I hadn't really done a deep dive yet on that. I was really focused on what I was doing with hydrogen and what have you. But my wife of 26 years, Jacqueline, who I love with all my heart and everything that's me, she had a lot of issues. The reason I developed the hydrogen machine was to help her, and because it did help her, and it helped also diabetic patients that I was working with for years. So in doing the key technology, Hagen just said, let me send you this device. I think it'll help. I think your wife will love it. I'm just going to send it to you. And so I said, okay. And so it showed up, and here was me carrying it in my house. And I walked past my wife about 10 feet away, and she stopped me and said, what is that you're carrying? And I said, this is a key device. It's supposed to help us with EMFs. And she's like, really? Okay. And I said, why do you ask? And she said, I don't know, but you just walked by me, and I felt sizzling in the air. And I said, what? Well, I've learned my wife is extremely sensitive. She's a gift to me because she's so sensitive. But she said, I'm feeling something sizzling in the air all around me. And I'm like, really? Okay. So I called my buddy Hagen the next day and said, hey, what was my wife feeling? And he said, well, the device emits electrons. So she was actually sensing, and he goes, Paul, I've never met anyone that's that sensitive. In all my years of doing this, he said, I've never met someone that sensitive. She's actually sensing the electron, the positive and negative combining the actual in the air. She's feeling these electrons and the positively charged ions that are coming together and they're combining. She felt that. She's perceiving that. And I'm like, holy cow.
What they consider to be subtle energy, right? And so
Yeah.
her body, her physiology, her mind, the whole electrical system received it, and it probably felt really good, right?
Well, right, because she needed it, right?
Exactly. That's how negative electrons work. Okay. Okay. Interesting. Keep going.
That was my first proof point, because I trust my wife with everything, and she's the most loyal human being that in my life. And so the reality is I trusted her, and I'm like, whoa, this is interesting. So I then started doing research, and I started figuring, oh my gosh, EMFs are destroying people, right? The third eye, the right from wrong, the love of mankind, cell membranes, calcium channels, on and on and on it goes. And not to mention the susceptibility, your immune function, right? Significantly reduces your immune function. So these are the things I began understanding, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is completely in line with what I'm doing, because with the water, I'm improving immune function, reducing oxidative stress, increasing mitochondrial function. That's everything that I'm seeing happen here. So we started doing research right away. We started looking at what would happen when people use this, and we were seeing within 24 hours their mitochondrial function was efficient, peak. And it's like, and you can do an organic acid test and see a before and after. And so the reality is, oh my gosh, well,
what year was this? When was this?
Oh, this about, gosh, this would have been 4.5 years ago, roughly.
Okay. Did you have Wi-Fi in your home at that time?
Oh, absolutely. The biggest, most powerful Wi-Fi I could have, because my house was large and I had to get it from one end of my property to the other end, which is a long ways. And the most expensive, most powerful router I could find would barely reach my bedroom on the other end of the house from, and so anyways, yeah, I didn't even understand what was wrong with that at that time.
So you were basically in a home that's surrounded with piping and all forms of metal, and you had millions upon millions of megahertz of basically static radiation penetrating and just creating a microwave frenzy. And a lot of people that live in urban sprawls, they turn on their Wi-Fi on their phone, they can see like 10 different routers. And that's causing a super surge. A lot of people listening right now, they might be in an apartment somewhere, they might be in a condo. So they're literally being saturated into that Wi-Fi smog, as I like to call it, or dirty electricity and radiation. Okay, so that happened.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So things that my wife was suffering from that I had never. So there were two people in my life that were suffering significantly, that I watched almost instantaneously be improved by key technology. So for me, it was like, whoa, this is deep. Number one was my closest friend, Robert Scott Bell, who has an amazing radio show. His wife, Nancy, had trigeminal pain. She had a dental procedure done on her molars. Yeah, and she ended up with excruciating pain for 13 years at that point. 13 years, she had pain that she couldn't leave the house. She could hardly talk. And so I told Robert, here, put one of these in the house and see if it helps her. And within 1 hour, she said 90% of her pain was gone, and she had more energy than she knew what to do with. Usually by 2 o'clock every day, she was in bed. That day, she was asking, what can I do? I've got energy. And within a week and a half, we were on a double date, which we had been friends for 12 years and had never gone on a double date as couples.
First of all, that's the best news of all time. I met him. I met his wife at that conference, and it's interesting that at some point in our life, when we start going through like chronic debilitating illnesses or chronic debilitating anything that could be causing pain, we just get used to it. And we just learned that that's just the way life's supposed to be. It's almost a psychological recovery mode, so you don't go crazy, right?
Right.
And because if you were just like going crazy about it every single day, you're going to exhaust everything out. But if you have a solution, you can get to the root of it, then we can figure it out. How many people are being robbed of their vital life force because 5G or Wi-Fi technology is zapping the oxygen out of their body, is zapping their body's ability to do mitosis, is zapping their body's ability of turning their immune system on and having proper ionic channels through calcium, release and all that stuff. This is inhibiting so much. We don't even know. I think we're completely in the dark on what is really going on.
I completely agree. At that time, my wife used to be able to go into a store that had fluorescent lights for about 10 minutes to 15 minutes, and she'd be wiped out, needing a nap. After having Key, she can do hours, no problem.
Yeah.
But her system is rebuilt back up. And so these are subtle things that I noticed that I never knew were as a problem. I said, well, she can't go in fluorescent lights. Okay, that's life, right? Well, now she can. But the interesting thing is, what other things, will we learn that EMFs accomplish, or what things come of the fact that people are being changed? I would use the word change, their purpose, their abilities, their wellness. So
to the DNA,
now,
right?
Yeah. Oh, well, absolutely. There's studies showing the DNA is affected. Let me
read a list, and then I'm going to have you go on, because I compiled a list here. Alteration of heart rhythm. Do you know what that causes? Anybody ever heard of heart rate variability and all of that? That changes your entire sequence on thousands of biological processes in the body. Altered gene expression, altered metabolism, altered stem cell development, cancer, cardiovascular disease, cognitive impairment, DNA damage, general well-being just shut down because of all of this, increased free radicals, learning and memory deficits, miscarriage, neurological damage, obesity and diabetes, oxidative stress, autism, ADHD, asthma, and all forms of mental breakdowns that come in all forms that, mainstream just wants to hand a drug to you.
Right.
So compounding the problems. Go ahead.
So if you want any of those things.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Just keep doing what you're doing. And
keep doing it. Buy a better router.
Buy a strong, more voltage.
So anyways, I started a deep dive. I started trying to understand. I started talking to the people that I know, like Doug Kaufman, like, type of all my dear friends are in the natural medicine world, and said, hey, do you know anyone that has issues with EMFs? I want to send them something and see what happens. And Dr. Lee Cowden, who's a dear friend of mine, who had been in 5G and got hurt, and then I gave him one of our products, and the next day he felt, completely different human being. So the reality is Cowden.
Oh,
Lee Cowden.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So the reality is today, now keep in mind, this was 4.5 years ago. We had one little study done in Europe saying that it was good for Wi-Fi, it protected people from Wi-Fi. Today, we have 12 scientific studies by the most amazing institutes in the world. I mean, you're talking 21,000 employees TUV has, right? I mean, this is a major organization that has done multiple studies and talking about this is what this is doing. The next study is going to be Cleveland Clinic. They now want to do a major double-blind study on it, and they're going to be publishing that later this year.
Let me pause you right here. If you're just joining us right now, I'm with the founder of Synergy Science, a dear friend of mine. This is Paul. We're discussing right now the ramifications of non-native electromagnetic frequencies, radiations, its effect on our biology suit, its effect on our ecology. And you know me, I'm a spiritual guy, but it's all based on science. I find divinity within the trinity of that life scope. That's a Rudolf Steiner principle. That's how I live my life. And I love everybody. I love crystals. I love shungite. But unless you can mold a Faraday cage that sits your body, you're probably not going to be defending yourselves from 2.3 to 5 billion different megahertz of radiation. Our body oscillates somewhere at 5 to 40 hertz, depending on the mood we're in, depending if we're sleeping. Just look at that decibel level and just think about the damage that's being done. Paul has sent over to me, different studies, different concepts. I've been reviewing them for how long now? It's been like a year now, right? Yeah. And I have to use discernment whenever I put my name around anything, whenever I can't jump into anything until I truly know. It finally hit me, and it finally took some time, and it finally, honestly, just to jump right there before you get started, for me to actually have it in my hand. Okay.
Yeah.
I needed to have it in my hand, and I needed it to have it in my home, paired with peer-reviewed studies, different forms of studies, which we're about to get into right now. That's why we are doing this live right now. That's why I'm making this announcement. Proceed, brother.
Thank you, my friend.
Yeah.
So now we have 12 studies, irrefutable, and these are scientific studies. In other words, they are instrumentation, very expensive equipment in a setting where you can completely, for instance, we tested 850 megahertz, 1900, 1800, all cellular signals that would be used worldwide to see how much we reduced the actual signal strength of cellular signal in a room. So they tested, one of the studies was in a room, completely isolated, and they had a broadcaster inside that would broadcast 850, but we're talking 850, 851, 852, 853, every single bandwidth.
Every decibel of that bandwidth, yeah.
Yeah, and then 1800 and 1900 to see what our device is actually doing for cellular. And what we saw is with the Key Shield, it was a 25% reduction in signal strength. The Key Home was 70% reduction in signal strength. So what are we actually saying? Signal strength is EMF exposure. So if we can reduce the exposure itself down by 70%, so you only have 30% exposure, what we need to understand is that is sufficient for the technology to work. We don't need the full we don't need the full power. We can carry on a phone call. We can carry on whatever we need to do with only 30%. And what we also in the studies show is that we depolarize the actual field itself. So I would use this as an example that if you imagine a laser pointer, because that's how the signal is transferred from a cell tower or a Wi-Fi router to your phone or to a smart TV or whatever it is, imagine going through air, tons of little laser pointers going from one antenna to another antenna. That's how these fields go. They're tiny, very, very strong, but very tiny fields of energy.
They're condensed energy because they're holding a lot of information and it can't break. That's why they have to penetrate it, and that's why 5G is so short range. Go on.
Yeah.
Go on.
So the reality is when that goes through your head or through your body, it affects you in a very real way. So what we have done is we depolarize that. So we increase the size of the field so that your body has a fighting chance because there's far more cells involved. It's kind of the same as if you shoot an arrow at someone, it's going to go in because you have all this power in a very isolated point. If we were to take a 2x4 with the same force, it's not going to go in you. Okay, it's going to.
So you're breaking its momentum, and you're basically blunting its penetration ability, essentially.
That's correct. So those are two things that we do. Number one, we reduce the signal strength itself, still allowing you to use the technology if you want to, but reducing the EMF exposure. Number two, we depolarize the field, which honestly, they could do that at the tower, but it will cost them so much more money to power. Yes. Yes. Okay. But so we'll do it for them. It's okay. Everyone that wants to be in a healthier, biologically safe field, we allow them to do that. The third thing that the device does is inside of the key devices is a proprietary liquid that Hagen developed, and now I'm involved with, but he developed it and he gets all the accolades. The reality is that liquid causes exchanges of electricity inside the unit. So inside of these units, you have two circles of water vials or liquid vials. Imagine water, it's easier for people to imagine, but it's a proprietary liquid, key liquid. So inside of that device is two rows of glass vials with liquid in them. And the outside ring is spinning clockwise. The inside ring, the energy is spinning counterclockwise.
I see it.
And because of this, we create a torus field. Right. And each one of the devices has a different size torus field. And that torus field is your area of protection. And so you would buy the device based on how much of an area you want to protect. That's as simple as it gets. But what we need to understand is this exchange that happens inside, it creates electricity. And so inside of this unit that's not powered, we're not plugging it in the wall, there's no need for power, we're creating power inside and electricity, and we're releasing electrons. So the torus field that we are creating, we are filling it full as max density of electrons, negatively charged electrons. And what they do is three things. They obviously react in the air, like I talked about my wife, she felt it, but it reacts with any positively charged particles in the air and combines and neutralizes them, number one. So that's your radiation, and that's other positively charged things in the air.
Yep.
Number two, they get on your skin, because you're in that field. The electrons, the negative electrons, will get on your skin, and they will absorb into your body to help you with radicals, free radicals, and other things. And that's the ultimate grounding, right?
Yes.
Is getting electrons into your body.
Absolutely. So okay, so this is good. Okay, so now we're giving some perspective on exactly how this works, because there's so many people trying to sell anti-EMF technology, you know, different things like that, but nobody really understands what is a square wave, what is a radiation, how is it coming as a blunt object, and what is a toroidal field. And what's interesting is this analogy, it's similar with Victor Schauberger's work, who's, you know who Schauberger is, he's the water wizard. He understood how vortex implosionary energy worked. And it's an implosion energy that has a certain vortex, same with spring water, which is why spring water is so powerful before they polluted the aquifers. And what it does is salmon would go under an implosionary waterfall, and they would tap into that negative electron spin, and they would shoot up the waterfall. It's kind of like a, you know, you couldn't even believe that happens. This is a very similar concept. You're creating an implosionary toroidal energy field, and that energy field's pushing out those negative electrons and creating an energy, basically force field. And it's filtering what's happening, and at the same time, it's supplying you with grounding technology as if you're laying down in the earth on the beach.
Exactly. Perfectly said.
Okay, beautiful.
And so those electrons will get inside your body, and they will actually give you more energy as well, because we're, like you said, electrical creature. So they will increase your energy field. They'll also increase your ability to function. But then in addition to all that, there's a layer always on you. So any radiation that would come from cellular Wi-Fi that comes to you would also react outside of your body before ever entering your body. And so this is tremendously helpful for cell membranes that normally would have a problem.
Yeah. I mean, I can almost tangibly, you know me here, there's no Wi-Fi in my home, you know, and I have all the electricity grounded here. And when I go into like urban sprawls, when I go into cities, you know, I'm basically, I take whatever I can take, but I'm preparing for it, and I can feel it. You can definitely feel it. We're basically water suits with a crystalline complex. It's essentially what we are. We're water and salt. What's the most conductive thing in nature? Water and salt. That's what we're made of. That's what feeds us. That's what gives us polarity. That's what makes our heart beat. It's that polarization between the center of the cell and the edge of the cell, that pH, you know, percentage of hydrogen. It needs to be 7.4 on the inside, 4.25 on the outside. Those two polarities beat the heart. That's why when your heart stops in a hospital, they shock you with a defibrillator to create that polarity again. And as we get sicker and sicker and sicker with more disease, with toxic food, toxic water, non-native, you know, EMFs, all of this stuff that we're just getting bombarded with, fear, all of that stuff, those two polarities start to get closer and closer and closer to the point your heart stops. And so, so this is really speaking on not only a physical, but a metaphysical perspective, because I can look at this device, I can now understand fully how it works, and I can basically tell my body I'm protected, and I can feel it and tap into it.
No, exactly right. That device, the Key Shield, that will do a 15 by 15 foot area, and it goes up 8 feet and down 8 feet. That's the field size.
Can you explain that?
The
Can you explain that one more time, particularly for this one, and then we'll get into all the other ones?
So that's the Key Shield. That's a mobile unit, so it's always on. It never shuts off. You can take it on the plane. You can take it in a car. You can take it in your house. Basically, it's a mobile unit to take with you wherever you go and protect you. That's definitely something that nothing else will do, where you can take it with you, jogging, or just keep it in a backpack, put it on the plane, keep it in the overhead. It'll protect you while you're in your seat. So
It'll protect everybody else too.
Yeah, exactly. It'll protect several rows around you. So, I mean, you ever go on an intercontinental flight, you'll notice a huge difference when you get there versus when without the shield. That's for sure. But when it's sitting still on a table, you'll have a 15 foot by 15 foot area, so about 225 square feet. Yeah, and then up, it goes around 6.5 to 8 feet and down. So it actually creates a nice size field, 250 square feet. Now, the next size up from that, which is the Key Home cell, that does an area of 50 foot by 50 foot. So that's 2,500 square feet. And then it goes up 16 feet up and 16 feet down. So you could technically, if you maximized it, if your house was 50 foot by 50 foot exactly, and you had 3 stories, you'd have 7,500 square feet. It would cover all of that area. And that's about the max of a Key Home. The maximum coverage is about 7,500 square feet if you have 2,500 square feet on each level. But it basically will do a 2,500 square foot area, 50 foot by 50 foot. Now, the Key Max, the big boy, that one does 328 feet by 328 feet. So you're talking 107,000 square feet, but it'll go up 100 feet or 10 stories and down 100 feet, which is 10 stories. So the total maximum you could do if everything was perfect, which it never is, would be 2.15 million square feet.
Unbelievable.
Imagine all those lives that could be changed.
You know what we should do? We should do a documentary where I'm dressed up like in all black, and I'm sneaking into every elementary school, planning them under somewhere completely hidden. Can you imagine that as a freaking documentary? I mean, I'll pay for it. I don't care.
Right.
I mean, I'll break into every elementary school and plant one of these big, massive protection key technologies. Just the karma of that alone. So if someone's listening to this right now and they live in an apartment in an urban sprawl, and they share Wi-Fi routers, the standard operating system, right? What do you recommend?
It depends on the size, but let's take New York, and let's use the example of Carol Alt, one of my close friends. I think you may have met her at Truth About Cancer, but she had a Fox show on and was a supermodel and all this.
I did meet her.
Yeah, she's amazing. So, about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, she bought the Key Home cell for her apartment in New York City. And she said, Paul, I was laying in my bed. I turned on my phone Wi-Fi just to count how many Wi-Fis are overlapping in my bed. And she said it was 61.
Unbelievable. And they compound. They actually compound because they sit on top of each other. It's almost like a 5G, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, and she said to me, she goes, you know how healthy I'm vegan. I do everything I can do to be as healthy as possible. And you know what she said? I've never felt better. It's been 20 years since I felt this good. She says, every morning when I'm doing my yoga, before I start, I reach and touch the copper ring for about a minute, like you told me to. And the reason people could do that is you have a direct electron coming into your body, and it's an amazing grounding. It's very high-end grounding coming into your body because you just feel it, right? So anyways, she does that every morning, and she loves it. But I said to her, that's awesome. She has it in her home there. But I would say in those kind of areas, it's a godsend because you can be protected from everyone else's Wi-Fi. Because people talk about turning off their Wi-Fi, but you can't turn your neighbors off, and you can't turn the cell signal from the cell tower. So trying to stop these fields is a never when it's never going to happen. You're not going to win that battle. What I love, honestly, Shervin, what I love is when people say to me, I can tell when people have Wi-Fi in their business or in their home, because there are people that are what's called electrosensitive. They can feel it.
Oh, yeah.
And then when they come in, there you go. When they come in our building, they say, oh, you're so smart not to have Wi-Fi. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, you don't have Wi-Fi. And I'm like, of course we do. We do. We have a business and we have people with laptops, of course. And they're like, no, you don't. I don't feel it. And I'm like, no, we do. But our technology works, so you can't perceive it. You can't tell there's Wi-Fi here because we've protected you from it. And they're like, I don't believe you. So I have to take them back, show them the Wi-Fi router is working, and they're like, holy crap, I'm 2 feet away from it and I don't feel it.
Right.
I said, that's the technology. So this is a reality that people don't have to be worried or be fearful about technology. The other thing I would say, to your point, you're brilliant in talking about schools. We had schools in Europe, and then now we have a school in San Diego area and a school in Washington State that are looking at putting the technology in, because one of the kids, after they installed Wi-Fi, in Europe, they installed Wi-Fi in a school, and one of the children couldn't open the doorknobs anymore after about a week. And the parents were like, what's going on? What's happening to our kid? And so they ended up buying one of our technologies, and then they started sending it with the boy to school, because he'd come home at night and he could function normally. He'd go back to school, he couldn't use his muscles. And so sure enough, they put one in the school. They asked permission. They had to send a big letter out. Every parent, oh yes, you can do this, right? It's so crazy, right? But at the end of it, guess what they saw? A 20% test score increase across the board for all students in the school. 20% increase of test scores. And what they were saying was Wi-Fi affects children more than adults, because their brain is closer to their head, because the bone is not as thick.
Children are the perfect sample size to really test this technology out for multiple reasons. You hit it on one right there. They're going to be taking tests. They're going to be doing things like that. Skull size. Also, their brain waves. They're in theta a lot more than we are as adults. It's just in that range, especially 7, 8, 9-year-old kids. And that completely disturbs the theta brain channel and the theta brain wave completely. I've read so many studies. I talked to Gabriel Cousins and went down that whole 5G whole thing. It's insanity what's happening with Wi-Fi and 5G. And it's so irresponsible that we live in a reality right now that's happening. So I'm going to take it upon my mission. I'm going to contact every big player I know in the industry. I just got off a call with Novak Djokovic. He's one of my best friends, and he's for the children. I'm going to make sure he gets in all of Serbia with this technology, and all of Europe for that matter. And I'm going to take it upon my responsibility to make sure every parent knows about this technology and has access to the studies and the data so they can get it, because there is a percentage of the population out there that is so stuck in their cognitive dissonance. They're so stuck on their ego. They're so stuck into the material scientism that they can't even look at the possibilities that something as that strong in terms of radiation can have a negative effect on our body. It's unbelievable how we've gotten here, and you've seen it across the board in our food, in our nutrition, in our water. I mean, every single category. The American Medical Association, the whole thing is just completely like one big psyop. It's insanity levels, and we're just trying to provide a solution. Everybody who's on this live right now most likely is part of the Symbiotica tribe, so they're getting the best nutrients in the world, which is coming with education. And again, Symbiotica is not about selling you products. It's about giving you an opportunity to join a tribe and to learn. And that's why I have you on here, so we can provide that information and provide solutions so they can properly protect their family. Because some people have a choice if they want to drink clean water or not. Not a lot of people have a choice whether they want to absorb non-native electromagnetic frequencies. This is almost like a existential threat, right? Because it's getting to that point where we don't know where this is going. And you think about the toxicity levels in urban sprawls and the toxicity levels in people, not just urban sprawls, everywhere in the world in terms of heavy metals. You know, we're riddled with heavy metals. What's being passed on as food in the supermarkets? What's in the water supply? And you talk, and you want to ping 5G Wi-Fi radiation on an electrical current body that's pinging with heavy metals that have a charge that will interact with that? Have you seen that video where they put a Wi-Fi router next to a water stream and it turned the water into a zigzag?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, people, we are that water. Okay. That's what we are. We are made of that. It's our alchemy. It's water is the expression of every part of our DNA and every process in our body. This is incredible. Tell me some more. Tell me. Give me some good news.
One of the most interesting things I saw the other day was a video of a guy in England where they had installed a 5G broadcast unit in a park, and literally there was a tree within about 10 or 12 feet.
Half of it was dead.
Yeah. Half of it was completely dead. The other half was still growing, and I'm going, if that's not proof, what the heck does somebody need to see?
I've taken videos. You know the Gwen towers?
No.
You don't know what a Gwen tower is? That's ground wireless. It's basically looks like a fake palm tree. They're all over California.
Yes.
Okay, so next to those Gwen towers, everything that was life that was around them are completely destroyed. It's basically turned into explosion energy. And if you look at nature, wherever there's implosion, like waterfalls and stuff like that, everything's beautiful. Why?
Right.
Negative electrons. Negative electrons are beautifying. Positive radiation energy causes decay, death, cellular turnover. And let me tell you this, the human body's DNA genomic code, right? We came with a finite amount of mitosis. There's only so much that our body can cellularly replicate. This is why I'm so big on fasting. This is why I'm so big on caloric restriction. That's why I have one meal a day. That's why I make very precise nutraceutical products. It's the same thing with 5G and Wi-Fi. It causes cellular turnover. It causes basically calcium ionic exchange that spills out and goes haywire. And when that goes haywire, the cell doesn't know whether to just detonate or to possibly turn into something even worse. And that's where you get into cancers, lymphomas, and all these other exotic diseases. This is unbelievable. I mean, people just need to learn this. It's not rocket science. It's just it's chemistry.
It's not. And you know, a lot of the things we hear that people experience is much better sleep, obviously, because they're not bathing in EMFs, radiation. But people have had so many different things happen to them. It's mind-boggling, actually, as we're learning from an anecdotal perspective, because we're not studying every single neurologic issue that could be caused by EMFs, because it's a huge window. But what we're starting to have is people going, oh, I had this problem and it's gone now, or I had this problem and it's gone, and we're going, wait a minute. And Nancy Bell, who was the first one that I saw the trigeminal neurologic pain, she was the first, but then we've had 3 other people since then say, oh, I've been battling this for 15 years and now I don't have that problem anymore. So what are we learning? We're learning that, hey, if you open up the nervous system, the EMFs have a pathway into your nervous system. It's going to create pain. It's going to create a lot of things. And so this can somehow help you or benefit you. But the reality is I am excited about the fact that we can help people live in the environment that we know it would take a significant a significant effort of someone to stop the advancement of technology like this, which is never going to happen.
Yeah.
It is never going to happen because they see the people that are damaged as an acceptable risk equation, even though they don't understand what that risk equation is.
Yeah.
They accept it as an acceptable risk equation, and it's not. Yeah.
When you have shareholders that are behind these types of things, whether it's pharmaceutical drugs, whether it's telecom, all of these different things, you have a fiduciary obligation to turn a profit. And if
Right.
someone's going to do it, then you have to do it too, or else you're out. There's so much
Right.
money involved. There's so much media involved. There's so much writing on it that they don't even look at it. They just look at it as some type of write-off. I mean, it's almost coming to that point because we're talking about trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. And there is definitely a wake-up that needs to happen. Is it going to happen tomorrow? Absolutely not. That's the reality of it. So what do? We prepare ourselves by understanding how these things work and layering our defenses as much as possible. It's like adding this to the equation, adding that to the equation.
Absolutely.
If you're on this live, I'm here talking with my good friend Paul. He's the founder of Synergy Science. He's an angel of a human being. I'm not just saying that. I mean it. What you're doing is so powerful. Every day I'm getting thousands of messages of people thanking me for what I'm doing. And it's so good to turn around and thank somebody else for what they're doing. I have a link in my bio. I just put it up on my main page bio. It takes you directly to the Synergy site. And once you're on the Synergy Science site, you can go to the key technology and you can order whatever you want. I believe everybody gets a 10% discount if they want to get it through that link. And trust, and you can speak on that.
Well, they'll see the adjusted price in the actual shopping cart. When they get all the way to the shopping cart, that's when they'll see the adjusted price. But yes, in honor of you, Shaveen, we are doing that discount for them so that they can have that. We don't ever discount on our website, but we're definitely discounting for you and those. Absolutely. I love you, brother. So bottom line, I want people to understand something else. There are many, many, many products out there that say they protect you from EMFs. There's stickers, there's pendants, there's all kinds of things. And I just want to spend a second on saying all of these other products work a specific way. They broadcast a frequency for a certain distance, and also each one of these things is good for a device. What's different about the key technology is, number one, we're not functioning on frequency. We're functioning on depolarization. We're functioning on lessening the actual EMF exposure, and we are adding electrons to your environment and your body. Please understand, there is no other product in the world that does this. We are the only company that even claims to reduce radiation or these other things. So I also want you to know that ours are not item specific. So you don't have to get a device for every one of your electronic devices. This is to protect your environment. You could have 100 devices in your environment. We don't care. It is there to protect the environment and to protect you from, or really I would say this, we make these EMF fields biologically safe. That's really what we do. So I would hope that everyone checks it out, and anyone that wants the studies, we can absolutely provide them to you. And in fact, they're on our website. You can download them. But keep in mind, we have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in proving what our technology does. And these are large organizations. They don't work with companies that their products don't work. These are very highly reputable, not little small companies that you can pay to do a study and have it come out the way you want.
Yeah.
These are companies with 20,000, 50,000 employees. They aren't going to fudge the numbers. And literally, we have the only product in the world proven through multiple scientific studies. So I know people always ask, what's the difference? That's the difference, is we actually put our money where our mouth is and paid for studies.
That's one of the most important aspects. You and I can sit here and we can talk about all these things, but the fact that there's real data behind it that backs up the logic and is being done by companies, million-dollar companies, multi-million-dollar companies that have thousands and thousands of employees. The data is there. And again, if you know who I am, you know I'm not going to put my name around anything that doesn't stand up to the test. That's like cutting my neck. I'm not some guy in the middle of the forest, in the middle of the Midwest that's just trying to make some money. I'm the founder of a multi-million-dollar company called Symbiotica that is, in 30 countries. There's a reason to this. There's a method to my madness. And this makes the most sense to me in terms of anti-Wi-Fi, anti-5G radiation, is to blunt the effects and harmonize your own centrifugal of energy through electron ionic exchange. And I'm really, really excited about this technology. I just received this not long ago, and I'm going to make sure that everybody I know gets it and has it for their family. And I really want to talk to you about getting this into schools and really get involved. My sister is the director of public health at San Francisco General Hospital. Okay, so I don't know if you knew that. Yeah, so she's the director. And so she's connected to all of the donors and all of, the movers and shakers. And there's a big portion of them that know this because they know science and they're above the standard talking points of mainstream media, right? And so I'm going to start infiltrating them. I'm going to start getting into all my athletes. You mentioned London, Dorian Yates, who is Mr. Olympia, one of my good friends. He's the one that sent me that video of that park. He's on the live right now. He's got millions and millions of followers in that realm. Let's just blow it up. And then what I also want to do is next week or a week from that, let's get on about hydrogen because for me, probably one of the main questions I get outside of Symbiotica is it's either what are we going to do about 5G or Wi-Fi, or Shervin, can you endorse Kangen water? Okay, so literally, I'm not kidding. We're probably over 5,000 emails and direct messages regarding Kangen water, and I've given my opinion on Kangen water many, many times. Everybody knows I'm a spring water hunter. They know me and my cousin David Avocado Wolf go everywhere in the world searching for spring water. I just got back from Iceland and Norway hunting spring water, and they know I'm a Victor Schauberger fanatic and understand that whole energy field. So I really, really want to get into hydrogen, and I'm going to make this soft announcement. It looks like I'm going to be bringing some of your, basically your alchemy, which is molecular hydrogen, to Symbiotica, okay? And it's going to come in a pump form. We're working on it. It's going to come in a pump form, so it's not going to be a tablet that most people know about molecular hydrogen. And at the same time, everybody needs to get one of your hydrogen machines at some point. But we'll do a full dive into the hydrogen echo machine and go completely berserk on every aspect of it. And I just wanted to make that announcement. I don't want to confuse people, but I'm really, really excited for this. I'm on your site right now. I can see the different options of what they can get with the key technology. Obviously, this is the key shield that's in my hand right here. Next to it, you have the key home cell. That's the one right above this in terms of strength that can cover 2,500 square feet. And then you have the key max, which is the monster. And then I also know that did you guys have some smaller units?
Yeah, the key me, it's up if you scroll up, but it's little, here, I have one right here.
I have it right here, there it is.
Yeah, so here's one in my hand, and it's 3 inches by 5 inches by less than an inch thick. And that one, you would have it close to your body. You would have it in a purse, or you would have it in, a pocket or something like this. This is really designed as a personal device. Also, it doesn't turn off like the key shield doesn't turn off. And it's designed to carry it with you if you don't want to have as big a unit as the shield carrying with you. But I will tell you, the key shield is a far, 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 far more protective device than this is.
And just knowing if people really understood this conversation, they would get why this is superior, right?
Yeah.
It's because not only of the reflection abilities or the ability to strain that energy, but the energy it gives you, right?
That's right.
It empowers you. So this is like...
And that creates a torus field. The shield creates a torus field. This does not create a torus field yet. Later this year, I'm changing it so that it will, but right now, that's why it has to be so close to your body. It is producing electrons and it is protecting you, but nothing like the key shield.
Let me ask you, I get a lot of people also asking me, hey, Shervin, I'd love to ground like you do, because I do videos of me butt naked walking around my sanctuary all the time, completely under father, son, barefoot, you know me, right? And but some people don't have that luxury because they're in the city or they're in the snow or whatever it is. Can this act as a grounding mechanism?
Absolutely.
Wow,
it will absolutely. Like it'll bring the forest to you, basically, is what it, or the ocean. Those are the two great places to get negative ions. But this one, if they hold it once a day, right now, electrons are going directly into you, and you are grounding beautifully right now. So that is the way that can be used. Absolutely.
Everybody that's been to my house that's come across this immediately feels it. Like immediately tunes in on it. I don't even tell anything to them. They actually go to it. We do a little test. And you know, you guys, I have people showing up at my house all the time, tribe, whatever. I set it like kind of obscure, you know, kind of on the mantle over here in the living room. And everyone at some point makes their way to it and go, what is this? What the hell is this thing?
Yeah.
That's the best ever.
It is. People definitely are drawn to it because it's a beautiful thing. And, you know, I would just say that try it. You have nothing to lose. You're going to love it. You're going to fall in love with it. If you have or want to be protected from 5G, there's nothing else in the world that's going to do it except for this. So that's what you're looking for. We have the only product worldwide.
Paul, this live's going to time out and probably